Hello everybody and welcome back to Blue Tinted Glasses. This is your latest Leicester City news, 24th of July 2025. As you can see on screen, starting with that man in the midfield for Leicester City, Bilal El Khannouss. This is a deal or a player that I thought would be departing the club already by now, 24th of July. You would have hoped we would have had this wrapped up and done. But he is still at Leicester City. He is still playing pre-season games. He is still a part of training, and whilst he's still at the club and contracted and paid by Leicester City, he's rightly so going to feature. Now, initially, weeks ago, Arsenal sniffed around, Bayer Leverkusen apparently sniffed around. That's gone quiet. The three clubs interested currently, allegedly, are Nottingham Forest, Sunderland, and Leeds United, the newest name on that list. It's interesting. I think Nottingham Forest are probably waiting to see what happens with Morgan Gibbs-White. That's a transfer saga that's ongoing. If he does leave and go to Tottenham, Morgan Gibbs-White, I would imagine that one of the first players they look at replacing him is Bilal El Khannouss. You know that he can perform at the Premier League. He's got bags of potential. He's still 6 years off his peak. He would love to play European football, I'm sure. Of course, he would rather probably go to a bigger club, but Nottingham Forest are a European club this summer, and it wouldn't surprise me, to be honest, if he did go there, if Morgan Gibbs-White departed. Now, Sunderland's an interesting one. It's quite clearly a club that have shown the most interest out of everybody else. This is, there's rumours from some European journalists that he could be going there. There is still uncertainty around the release clause with Bilal El Khannouss. It's rumoured, there was initially rumoured to be a release clause somewhere between 20 and 25 million. But then other journalists have said, well, Leicester will demand a substantial fee. So that would suggest there's not a release clause. So it's really confusing. We still haven't had 100% clarity on this case. I'm sure time will tell, right? If a club does want to come in for him and decides to do that, we'll know pretty soon whether there's a release clause or not, depending on what fee he goes for. So I think hit and miss in the Premier League last season. Performances were inconsistent, but he was definitely, without doubt, one of the best performers in that Leicester City squad. I think a lot of Leicester fans are rightly so dreaming of what it would be like with Bilal El Khannouss in the Championship. That's an exciting thought. I don't think he will be here. Maybe for the first game, we've got a few games before the season, before the transfer window shuts. He could feature, but I would rather this done and dusted. If he's going to leave, if he wants to leave, get him gone now. Get some money in the door, and if you can reinvest some of that into the playing squad currently, then that would be great. Leeds United in the last 24 hours have been said to be monitoring the situation with Bilal El Khannouss. Not interested necessarily or about to take a punt on him, about to make a bid, but they are monitoring. So that's just one of those words, those buzzwords that are used by journalists in 2025, monitoring and all of that stuff. But Leeds are looking at him. It's something that they could pull the trigger on in the future, but it's interesting with Bilal. Would he take the risk and go to a newly promoted club? I suppose if he believes in the projects and believes enough that they are good enough to stay up, then he could. But Sunderland, Leeds, which of them two clubs are more likely to stay up this season? I would probably say Leeds United. Nottingham Forest, on the other hand, though, people joke around and say they're going to be relegated, but I don't think that'll be the case. I think there will be a drop-off, but I don't think they'll be anywhere near the bottom three. So that could potentially be the better move for him out of those three clubs. Next on the list is this man, Mads Hermansen. Another one, just like Bilal, we probably expected to be gone by the 24th of July. But he's still here. He hasn't featured in any of the preseason games. I'm not sure if he's still recovering from the injury and the surgery that he had at the end of the season, or if it's just a Harvey Barnes situation from 2 years ago where he didn't feature because the club knew he was going to leave. It's an interesting one. West Ham rumoured to be interested in him. This one seems quite, it's getting there. There seems to be legs to it. There seems, the wheels seem to be moving. The price tag again, look, we know 12 months ago Chelsea sniffed around. We told them 40 million. They backed out. This time with the relegation, needing money potentially for PSR, I'm sure the price tag will be lowered. Will it be lowered as far as 25 million, what some people are talking about? I'm not sure. Would the club accept that? It's still a substantial profit of what we bought him for, 3 or 4 million, I think it was. 30 million, I think, is a reasonable price tag. I don't think it's a car crash. I don't think it's the maximum of what we could get, but I think it's somewhere in the middle. West Ham have recently brought in a couple or a goalkeeper coach from Bromby who used to coach Mads Hermansen, so there's a link there. I would be surprised if he went to West Ham, to be honest. I think he could do better. I don't think West Ham will go down next season, but there is a chance if one of the newly promoted teams does have a good year and stays up. There's only so many teams that can get dragged in. West Ham will be one of them. Wolves will be another. Brentford. So it could be risky going to West Ham. With Graham Potter still, the jury's out, I think, on him. It would be a shame, I think, to see him go to West Ham, Mads Hermansen. I think he could do better. But again, like with all of these guys, only time will tell. I would rather get it done and dusted quickly if you do think he's going to leave. But we'll have to wait and see who makes an offer, what that offer is, whether the club think it's acceptable, whether the player wants to go. All of these things are a factor, of course. And finally, Asmir Begovic, again, another one that just keeps going on and on and on. We were originally linked to his name 2 months ago, a month ago, 6 weeks ago, something like that. Footy insider though, so unreliable. But more recently, there's been genuine journalists, reputable journalists, who have said that Leicester are advancing with Asmir Begovic. Now, this one is kind of linked to the last one, Mads Hermansen. You'd think if Mads Hermansen stayed, which I think is very unlikely, but if he did stay, what would be the need of Begovic, unless he was coming in as a coach, because we don't have a goalkeeper coach at the moment, or an official goalkeeper coach. So if Hermansen comes in, if Hermansen stays, you've got Hermansen, you've got Jakob, and you've got Borsa, whatever his name is, the younger goalkeeper from South Africa in the club. So that's 3 goalkeepers. Do you need a fourth? Do we need to go to what we had last year and the year before with Hermansen, Jakob, Ward, Everson? Do you need Hermansen, Stolarczyk, Bausa, Begovic? Do you need 4 goalkeepers? I don't think you do. He's 38. He's a free agent. He's experienced. Some fans think it's just risk-free. It's smart business. I can see where they're coming from. I don't necessarily agree that it's probably a priority signing that we should be looking at, but it is one that the club are wanting to do. If Mads stays, again, I think that's a big part here. Will it happen? I'm not sure. But maybe the fact we're looking at him means the club are pretty confident that Mads Hermansen will leave. But this guy, of course, played under Martí Cifuentes at QPR. He knows him. He probably trusts him. There probably is a long-term vision here of him being a coach at Leicester City. And I don't think that's a bad idea. He's got an academy, I think I read, Begovic. So he has experience with coaching, and as an older figure in dressing rooms, I'm sure he's played a part in that at previous clubs. So yeah, we'll see what happens with this one. It looks like Leicester are the only club interested. It looks like Leicester are the only ones who are actually in negotiations. With free agents, normally these things can be wrapped up quite quickly, especially with a player like Begovic, who probably won't be on too much money. So because of that, I'm kind of thinking that we're waiting for Mads to go first. Otherwise, why wouldn't it be done yet on the 24th of July? So, yeah, again, as always, let's wait and see what happens with it. If there are any more news stories that come out about these players or other players, we will, of course, get a video uploaded to talk about it. But yeah, make sure to join us Friday for the watch-alongs. 2 of them, 10 a.m. in the morning and 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And Good Morning Fox on Sunday. We'll see you very soon on Blue Tinted Glasses. Cheers.